downstate.
Okay, Mom, you wanted to share this piece with folks?
My friend Melody James, who's been my friend since college and is like family, sent me a post from her friend Harriet, from her friend, the lawyer that wrote this. And the lawyer's name was Laura Lawless.
Laura Lawless.
And I found it so unusual and so specific, I just wanted to share it with people. She said, "It's hard to capture what the death of Honorable Bader Ginsburg means to so many, especially women lawyers like me. Ruth was small in stature and underestimated for it. She's every woman who was ever judged for her body and misjudged on first impressions. Ruth was bookish and shy, elegant but not conventionally beautiful. She's every woman who was judged for her looks. Ruth was smarter than her peers but never one to boast. She's every woman who was the smartest in the room but trained not to let anyone know it. Ruth's older sister and mother died when she was still young. She's every woman who learned to be a woman without a mentor to guide her through the process. Ruth defied every expectation of her era, excelling in high school and leading her class at Cornell, but making it home to cook dinner. She's every woman who took on more than she should have been able to balance, but made it work anyway. Ruth accompanied her husband to Fort Sill after graduating from college when he was called to active duty, then demoted from her office job when she became pregnant. She's every military spouse who's left the known for the unknown, every woman who felt the sting of discrimination for having the audacity to bear a child. Ruth was accepted to Harvard Law, one of only 9 women in a class of 500. She's every woman who felt alone in a crowd, who wondered if her sisters were allies. Ruth mothered 2 children while attending her own and her husband's classes at Harvard Law, all while caring for him through cancer treatments. She's every woman who learned there's no such thing as work-life balance, sleeping through the night, or self-care rituals. Ruth was quietly unspoken in class, dismissed as seeking an MRS degree, and viscerally disliked by her dean. She's every woman who knew finding her voice and claiming her space would invite disdain. Ruth was forced to withdraw from Harvard Law when her husband's job moved the family to another city. She's every woman who had to sacrifice her goals for the sake of her family. Ruth graduated with top honors after excelling in making law review at 2 Ivy League law schools, but could not find work because she was assumed to be a baby maker and an unwise investment. She's every woman who had a door, or 200, shut in her face, but persevered in spite of the stereotypes. Ruth clawed her way through academia and public interest work, led by passion more than self-interest. She's every woman who was underemployed, but turned the challenge into an opportunity. Ruth fought alongside and later led unpopular allies like the ACLU on behalf of unknown clients fighting for unlikable causes: pay equity, gender equality, voting rights, jury participation rights, survivor benefits, with each case chipping away at institutional gender discrimination that pervaded every aspect of American law and life. She's every woman questioned for her meticulous strategy for using a chisel instead of a battering ram. Ruth was often referred to as the Thurgood Marshall of gender equality, because even in recognizing a woman's role in championing women's rights, she had to be compared to a man. She's every woman whose achievements, ideas, or accomplishments were unworthy until sanctified by a man. Ruth took the bench on the D.C. Circuit alongside Titans Bork and Scalia, but never lost her own voice in the noise. She's every woman who had to work twice as hard and speak twice as loud to be heard half as often.
Wow, can you read that line one more time?
Ruth took the bench on the D.C. Circuit alongside Titans Bork and Scalia, but never lost her own voice in the noise. She's every woman who had to work twice as hard and speak twice as loudly to be heard half as often.
Mm.
Ruth was seated on the Supreme Court in 1993. Amid cries that her appointment was to appease critics who felt one woman wasn't enough, perished the thought, and that her Jewish identity played a role in her nomination. She's every woman devalued as a mere diversity hire. Ruth was frequently interrupted during oral argument, though she remained methodical and measured in her questioning. Her opinions were clean, crisp, and precise, but pundits attacked them as biased, radical, and agenda-driven, particularly where women's rights were concerned, because consistently siding with women is, in itself, radical. She's every woman whose opinion was solicited, then dismissed for just being a woman's point of view. Ruth battled cancer and beat it more times than science or faith should allow, quickly returning to work and even attending arguments from her hospital bed, prompting questions about why she didn't instead spend more time with her family. She's every woman whose allegiance to her family was questioned because she had the audacity to use the inimitable gifts bestowed on her. Ruth died, and within hours, even before her body had cooled, men who had questioned and judged and doubted her for 87 years planned her replacement, gleefully dancing on the grave she wasn't yet buried in, and envisioning the ways they could undo her life's work. She's every woman who feels she did it all for nothing. But Ruth didn't do it all for nothing. She lived a life of inestimable accomplishment, and in doing so, paved the road for the brilliant women lawyers in my life to follow. For almost 30 years, she protected my right to decide what happens to my body, to be paid what I'm worth, and to enjoy the full rights, benefits, and prerequisites of being an American citizen. Her mere existence lowered the hurdles an inch or two for our daughters and reframed the role of women in our American society for all our children. She dared to suggest that the Supreme Court representation would only be fair when there were 9 women justices, forcing us all to reflect on the 400 years of complete and utter domination by men of all aspects of public life prior thereto. She learned Swedish and cooked pasta and loved opera and enjoyed red wine and befriended philosophical arch nemesis and spoke civilly, a dying art if ever there was one. It's not just a jurist who passed, but a beacon. So when the questions come, as they already have started, as to why the massive outpouring of tears for just another judge, know that for women of all stripes and denominations, all politics and viewpoints, she was so much more. She is Blessed Ruth, patron saint of heightened scrutiny, and she would want us all doing our best to follow in her very tiny footsteps. And we will, because she did. And we were so lucky to have her for 20 years past that awful disease. And that's just to commit ourselves in her name and honor to do more than we think it's possible to do for justice and equality and fairness and goddamn civility, and stop this demonization and loud hatred that has been like a horrible virus in our land. So here's to Ruth and all of us.
Amen.
Amen.
Thanks for sharing that, Ma.
Yeah, thanks Melody for sending it to me.
And thank you to the author. Who's the author again?
Laura Lawless.
Laura Lawless. Thank you, wonderful
Laura
lawyer
Lawless.
Laura Lawless.